This is the Chapter 7 practice test for geometry. So the first 4 questions want you to solve each of the proportions. So in order to solve a proportion, you do the cross product. So I multiplied 8 times 7, and then 4 times 2, and then divided both sides by 7. So I end up with the fraction 8/7. Number 2, same thing. I'm going to do the cross product. I end up needing to distribute on the left right here, and then do inverse operations. So subtract 90 from both sides, divide both sides by 9. This one I was able to reduce to negative 14/3. Number 3, need to just do the cross product from that proportion, distribute on the left, and then get the like variables on the same side by subtracting 7p. I also added 4 in the same step, and then divided by negative 5, so I end up with negative 4/5. Number 4, you're going to solve the proportion by doing the cross product, which means you're going to need to distribute on both sides of the equal sign. And then you're going to subtract 7x to get the variables on one side, add 48, and then you'll end up with x equals 5. Sorry, negative 15. All right, for number 5 and 6, they want you to say if the polygons are similar. So what you're going to do is you're going to take, because these are both rectangles, you're going to take the two sides, the 10 and the 16, reduce it to 5/8. Take the 15 and the 24, reduce it to 5/8. Since it's the same ratio, you say yes. Same thing with number 6 on these parallelograms. Take the two sides, the 32 and the 24, reduce it. Take the 24 and the 18, reduce it. You get the same ratio, so you say yes. Down at the bottom, the directions say solve for x, and they tell you that they are similar, okay? So they give you a lot of extra information that you don't need, all right? So I narrowed it down to where my x was at, which is at the top. So I used the top and the bottom, the top and the bottom. That creates the left side of my proportion and the right side of my proportion, and I just used them as my numerator and denominator. Then I do the cross product, distribute on the left, add 70 to both sides, divide both sides by 10. Number 8, I looked to find where the variable was at. So I needed this side and its corresponding side. And then I just chose these two sides to set up my proportion. Did the cross product, so I needed to distribute on the left, subtract 36 from both sides, divide both sides by 12, and so I get x equals 7. For number 9, I looked where the variable was at, so I used this side and this side, and then picked the other two sides. Wouldn't have mattered because those were the same. So you do the cross product from there, distribute on the left, and then add 80 to both sides, divide both sides by 40, so you get x equals 8. Turn over to page 2. Top of page 2, I drew an imaginary line down the middle of the triangle and then created my proportion. So I used this for my numerator and denominator of the left side, this for the numerator and denominator of my right side. Then I did the cross product, divided both sides by 8, and got x equals 5. On number 16, same thing, drew an imaginary line down the middle. I used this piece and the whole thing. So I used this piece and the whole thing. Then I did the cross product, so I needed to distribute on the left.
Darren White to the attendance window, please. Darren White to the attendance window.
Then you're going to add 80 to both sides and divide both sides by 40. That should get you x equals 9. Number 17, drew an imaginary line, which gave me a left and a right. Set up my proportion. Did the cross product, needed to distribute on the left. Subtract 36 from both sides. Divide both sides by 6. You'll get x equals 1. Number 18, again, draw that imaginary line through your parallel lines. I used the bottom portion to the whole thing. So over here I used the bottom portion to the whole thing. Did the cross product, distributed on the left, add 105 to both sides, divide both sides by 105, so you end up with x equals 5. Number 19, draw that imaginary line, set up your proportion just like you see it. Do the cross product, so you'll distribute on the left, add 36 to both sides, divide both sides by 12, you get x equals 6. Number 20, you've got a left side and a right side, numerator and denominator. So you're just going to do the cross product, distribute on the left, subtract or add 4 to both sides, divide by 4, and you get x equals 7. 21 and 22 are your angle bisector ones. So I drew an imaginary line through that angle bisector and did 8 to 4, which means I needed to do 4 to x minus 2. Do your cross product, distribute on the left, add 16, divide by 8. And last question, number 22. So I drew my imaginary line, set up my left side with numerator and denominator, set up my right side with numerator and denominator, just plugging it right into the proportion. Do the cross product, distribute on the left, add 63 to both sides, divide both sides by 21, so you end up with x equals 9.